Hi, I'm Steve Mason. I chair the Citizens Oversight Advisory Board. We're glad you're here today. We are calling to order. Cassie, can we see if we have a quorum, please, for the roll call?
Steve Cooper. Here. Heather Gardner. Javier Nira.
Present.
Sandino Thompson. Joanne Davis. Mike Mize. Steve Mason.
Present.
We have quorum.
For purposes of this agenda, action means any of the following: amending, approving as amended, deferring, denying, giving instructions to staff, making a recommendation to another public body, receiving documents or presentations, referring to committee, reconsidering, reopening, returning, or striking the item. The next agenda item is approval of minutes from January 21, 25. Is there any discussion about the minutes of January 21st? Is there a motion?
So moved.
We got that recorded. We'll go up for a vote. I can press my button.
Just a moment. Mr. Nira, if you could vote for me, please, sir.
I'm sorry?
If you could vote for me, please, sir.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes. Thank you. The next item is agenda item number 2, discussion and possible action regarding the planning, design, management, and construction of the new Oklahoma County Adult Detention Center and Behavioral Care Center, including a discussion of current money that's been spent on the new jail.
Good morning, or afternoon, I guess. Bring you up to date, the design for the jail is basically complete. We're in the final round of the CDs, construction documents. Should have that in about 30 days, plus or minus. And then we'll have plans on the shelf. Now, we do have some design contingency, about $100,000 we haven't spent yet, in case anybody wants them to consider some additional ideas. I've heard one look at geothermal, things of that nature. We might ask them to go back and do a few of those things. So if you guys have any strong ideas about something you want to see that's maybe not in the plans or hasn't been discussed, let the commissioners know. We can take a look at it, or we can just put these plans on the shelf and be done with it. There's still some money left in the contract, but most of that's going to be for the construction administration, should we ever actually build the facility, because that'll be about a 3-year build and that sort of thing. So there is something attached to your agenda. It's up on the screen, which just kind of gives you an accounting of where we started, projection of our revenues, both that interest, which is mostly just a projection, could go up or down. You can see there what we've encumbered, what we've paid out to date. We've got some invoices that are pending, in the building now, which gets you to that bottom line, about $218 million still sitting there. Now that's some of it's bonds that have not been sold, so I don't see us selling any of those bonds anytime soon. But we did sell $45 million in bonds 3 years ago, and you can see we didn't use all those. So I've got $13 million that we need to spend in the next 11 months. Those bonds have already been sold. They're in the secondary markets. So I'm working with Flint Co. for an early package, maybe some roads, maybe some drainage structures, possibly some utilities. I don't know how far that money will go. I don't know if we can get to dirt work or not.
Can you explain why we have to expend those funds?
Yeah, I think it's something called, a little beyond me, but arbitrage kicks in and pay penalties if you don't use the money. It just sits there and you can't put it back. They've already been sold. So, and then we'll have 2 years after that to spend another 7. So there's quite a bit of money sitting there that If you can't give me 500 more, I don't need any more. I'm having trouble spending this. But I'll be glad to answer any questions about the financial sheet. At the bottom down there is the Behavioral Care Center. It's a different fund, mostly funded with ARPA monies. Well, it's all funded with ARPA monies. We had a $10 million one-time ARPA that added to that. And we're just about on budget except for the latest change order where we had some soft dirt issues out there that we got to shore up at the building pad. So we're about 300,000 over right now on that project.
So, the timeline for, I guess the proposed site work or early package. What are you thinking about that?
Well, I need to have it encumbered before this calendar year's up.
Okay.
And, start spending it pretty quickly.
So is the idea from your standpoint kind of, you're going to kind of work backwards from that date, hoping that more clarity is given, or are you guys kind of working on getting something going sooner than later since already out there for the behavioral care center? And that's you understand that's what I'm curious about, is if there may be some savings or some efficiency on, we're doing site work, so we'll just go ahead and kind of broaden that scope now, or is it more like we don't want to spend the money, but we got something to spend the money on? We don't want to spend the money until we know where the rest of it's coming from, but we've got something ready.
Yeah, we have no choice in spending this money. And we do know what the site looks like. We got, like I said, a final set of plans. So we'll be able to put an early package together that makes sense.
So, Stacy, we've spent 18 million, if I'm reading this right.
Correct.
We're gonna spend around 25 million sooner than later. And we'll have a set of plans ready to go.
Yeah. We got the site, we got the team, we got the plans, just short the money, which has always been the problem.
All right. Other comments, questions? I think, are we done with item 2? If so, we'll move to item 3, discussion of and possible action regarding funding sources for the new adult detention center.
Well, now that's where we would like to have some clarity. I've been working on this project for 18 years and no funding yet. Well, partial funding, I guess. So I think there was an idea to do a sales tax. This body made a recommendation in that way. If it's back in the fall, that never materialized, and then I think the legislature looked at some ideas for excise taxes and taxes on other products, which would move us away from a sales tax. So it's kind of just back to square one, back to where we were 18 years ago, which is very frustrating. So
I'd like to make a couple of comments on that. A lot of effort has been put into finding those sources of funding. We are the only county in the state that does not collect the sales tax. That puts us in a severe disadvantage when compared to other counties and communities. Regardless of what solution we propose, the bigger problem we're going to have is that we have 2 commissioners that are looking for excuses to not advance the project, and one that is wanting to move it forward. It's going to be very difficult, no matter what we propose, to move past that. So what is being considered are 2 potential taxes next year. One that we may call a sin tax, could be tobacco, alcohol, medical marijuana, and the other one would be an excise tax. One of those taxes could be used for funding of the facility. The other one could be used for long-term operations. Nothing happens until next year, though. And so that is the calendar that we're contemplating, given all of the other issues that are coming before the citizens of the city and the county. So we can try to find an interim solution and keep the project going. I think one of the options we had was looking at bonds that we could retire early without a penalty. And that's something that's, we reviewed several proposals. It's a very expensive way to go, but it's a way to go. The other option we have is we do nothing and DOJ comes down and really lets us know how it's done, and the taxpayers of the county are on the hook to repay $700 million worth of debt in a 3-year period. So doing nothing is not an option. And I'd also like to point out, you know, I don't know where Crooked Oak is in all of this, but they've been damaged. They held off for 1.5 years on the construction of their facility. Interest and construction costs have gone up, not making it any easier for them. I don't know what their intentions are, but if I were in their position or if I was on their board, I would be demanding payback from the county. So I think we have a number of issues that we have to address. The bigger one is that we need to have some sort of agreement within the commission. That's the 3 commissioners that we're working for.
Help me understand. We might have commissioners that aren't for the project?
I think that's been very clear if you kept up with any of the media recently. We have 2 commissioners that chose, number 1, to end the agreement for the purchase of the Allen property. And in their comments, they said that it may not even go there. The jail may not even go there. I take that as a negative.
Thanks for the detailed explanation. Questions from us? Thoughts? Frustrations? Well, I'd love to hear kind of our thoughts about this stalled project. I mean, we all have thoughts or sadnesses or something, if you want to say anything. If there's a motion encouraging someone to do something.
I move we encourage someone to do something. I mean, I think the county needs a jail, and they should find a way to pay for it. I understand it's unpopular and difficult, but it seems inevitable that what Javier outlined will come to pass if we do nothing, and that seems not a good idea to wait until that happens.
Is that a motion we need to deal with or just commentary? Commentary. Okay, just wanted to double check. Other thoughts? I don't know. We're all sad. I mean, I think Stacy can tell us our prices were good through July on detention.
Well, Flintco's going to present that to you here in a few of the some agendas.
Our numbers have been ready to go out of date.
The number only gets bigger as we went.
Yes.
True.
Same as Crooked Oak's frustration about their improvements. And I guess for me, I thought a lot about the mission of us. I think we met our mission. We have a good set of plans. We have a reasonable site. And nowhere in our mission was it to go find the money. And I think certainly for me, I underestimated, I sure didn't think about this 2 years ago, that we were going to design the thing according to our mission and we don't have money to build it. That's frustrating.
Does that mean we've served our purpose and are no longer relevant?
I believe that would be up to the commissioners to decide. But I think, from my perspective, I take the entire project on, including funding, to make sure that we consider all funding options possible and provide those options to the commissioners to review. Again, provided there's an interest and an understanding of the importance of advancing the project.
So the resolution establishing us that we are here to do the design, phasing, site selection, and construction. So the final piece, construction, and we're certainly not done with construction of
Right.
behavioral care.
And the way I see it, funding is part of the construction.
That's fair.
And we are only advisory.
Right.
And I'm proud that we got our design done. We got a site found, and I'm proud that last year, third or fourth quarter, we made a recommendation about how to fund this thing.
And there's a big community interest in advancing the project. I think everybody realizes the importance of having a safe community, especially in light of the 28 Olympics that are coming. Our upcoming NBA championship, I will go ahead and boast it now. I called it first. But I think all of these things are going to be a big impetus for people to support public safety projects. Hence the need to have a revenue source that keeps our city safe and protects the citizenry of the county from an unfair burden financially in the way of ad valorem taxes to pay back a DOJ facility.
I guess we know nothing more about DOJ timelines. We just have that hanging over our head, but nothing, no,
Yeah, I haven't.
no feedback or.
No feedback. I haven't heard from them.
Yeah, that was the question I was going to ask. Have they fluttered their feathers?
Not recently, to my knowledge.
And I know right now, politically, they may be a little bit in disarray, but they're hovering, kind of like crows. And coming from the federal government, I'm very sensitive to how not here today, but here tomorrow. So I just say we need to be, whomever's listening, very, very cautious, because when they come in, they will build it wherever they choose to build it, in whatever area of the town they choose to build it, and how they choose to build it, and just give us the bill when they walk out the door. And that may be triple what we see right now. And again, as you all have already stated, the taxes will go to folks in the county, whatever that cost might be.
We talked at one time, I think last year, about getting the word out through that story out through PR, and we had some money, but that never really went anywhere.
Yeah,
did it?
actually it did. We hired a PR firm. It's just for educational purposes only. That's all they can really do. They've developed a website with a lot of Q&A, a lot of your stories that are in the press and so forth. They're to present that in front of the commissioners on the first meeting in June. And if the commissioners like it, that'll probably be a permanent website for educating the public about this issue.
Stacy, would you advise us via email of that meeting date? In case I
Yes,
wanted
it's
to come
the
hear
it's the first Monday in June. I'm thinking that's the 2nd or the 4th.
That's perfect.
But I'll send an email.
Because I might be interested in hearing the presentation. Thanks.
And I've said this before, my frustration continues to be the fact that we continue as a city and a county and other cities to incarcerate people who have mental and behavioral health issues, people who can't afford to pay a fine, and the cities and the counties can't come to some sort of an agreement to provide some humane way for those folks to survive, for our staff in the jail to survive, without it being about, am I going to get elected next time? That continues to be my frustration.
I mean, should we consider, I don't know what it is, a motion to advise the commission to aggressively pursue all funding options to build this jail as soon as possible? I don't know exactly what the words are. Javier, you might have a better idea how to craft that, but if we're here to give advice, and it sounds like we're on the same page about, we think that that's what should happen, should we continue to do our job and provide advice even if we know it may not be taken?
Well, so I think as I'm thinking about the questions that are kind of before us, I mean, we're gonna get an update on the behavioral care facility, which I think falls under the auspices of this group. So I mean, we're advising around timing. It's not like, and I know that the behavioral care center is not the jail. I think the behavioral care center actually speaks to what my colleague Mr. Mize was saying, though, or one of the concerns at least. And I mean, I'm also frustrated. I joined this body because I wanted to make sure that I was at least able to contribute to an effort to solve a problem that I feel like has been about 30 years in the making, and that's most of my lifetime, actually. And so it doesn't feel like we're solving the whole problem, but definitely seems like that's happening, right, wrong, or indifferent. So, I mean, I guess I'm not dejected. I don't necessarily feel like the work is done because it feels like there's a $60 million facility under construction right now that we're going to want to make sure is tied in and prepared to sort of fulfill its mission and also connect with the overall public safety mission. I definitely think we can provide some advice to the county. I don't think it'll be new advice to the county commissioners that, like, the longer we wait, the more problematic the construction side of this becomes. Like, there's no benefit to waiting, but I also don't get the impression. I do understand the I guess politics or the policy of that body, which they're all elected officials and so inherently politicians. But I don't think anybody's sitting around waiting. I think they're intractable, or maybe just differences of opinions. So if comments from this body helps to change that, then I think it's, in my mind, what is the right comment? Because that comment, I mean, we made that. Like, we can rinse and repeat previous recommendation from from the fourth quarter, I think, of last year. Or if there's something else to be said, like,
Deacon Forsyth, you've come to all our meetings. You're very aware of the situation at the current jail. You're hearing our dilemma here about, gosh darn, what can we do? And you're in the middle of it. Do you have any advice for us?
Thank you. Xavier kind of laid out what are the funding operations for the jail. The county commissioners need to know it. We've been told how much money is going to be lost, millions of dollars, if it's not used. And the county commissioners need to know the details laid out just like you did, that if you don't go ahead, you don't listen, to this finances, you're going to lose that money. And the other thought is still all the stakeholders in this, all the jails that are in the county or the surrounding communities, somehow they need to be pulled together, including Oklahoma City, to be involved in funding this. It's not just for certain people, it's for everybody. And it needs to be done for humanity. I mean, the current jail is cruel and unusual punishment. And it's not acceptable. And whoever those commissioners are that don't want the jail need to come spend some time in it and see if that's really what they believe. And one other thing. I was chastised by the trust committee because I had spoken to the architects about some space that could be utilized for chaplains to work. And I was told that I had no business doing that. Well, I thought I was a part of the chaplain, but I've been informed I'm not now. I had a meeting with the new CEO of the jail and his leadership team, and they basically told me that all of my team would have to come back and get retrained, 24 to 40 hours of additional training, get new background checks, and then we'd be able to go into the jail pod and talk to inmates through a steel door. That would be like useless. And so then they're trying to tell me the jail is much more dangerous now than when I started, with fentanyl and to be in contact with inmates. Well, I've never been threatened by an inmate in 17 years. I never felt threatened. And it certainly could be designed into the new jail to have a space where we could be separated from the inmate, but still to where you could reach through and shake a hand, and so we'd be protected, but we could have face-to-face conversation. That's the only way to minister is, get down knee to knee with the person you're talking to and share your faith with them and why you'd like to help them. So I don't know whether the suggestions that I made are still around, but if they're not, I'd like them to be considered going forward, even if I don't get to be a part of it. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Deacon Forsyth, thank you for expressing, like Mike expressed, these are our neighbors. And we got to figure out how to take care of them. And our committee is discussing, should we add any more emphasis to our motion of last fall?
Or maybe broaden it, because it was specific around a sales tax. And I mean, I don't know, maybe we meet every month and pass the same resolution that says we move that the county aggressively pursue all funding options for building the new jail is drawn as soon as possible. I don't know.
Well, that sounds like a good motion. I think there's kind of a motion there. Did we get that? We got it. Is there a second to Steve's motion? Second. I have a second from Mr. Mize. Cassie, can you read the motion, please?
A recommendation to advise the Board of County Commissioners to aggressively pursue all funding options to build the new jail as soon as possible.
As designed.
As designed. I will add that.
Javier, are there any tweaks to that with your kind of closer knowledge of what's going on there?
I think that's good, and I think we need to examine. I do want to address the question about the police department. The city and the county realize it's a community problem, not just a county problem. However, the laws that have been changed do not basically allows the police department to drop the detainees off at the county jail, and they become a charge to the county. The old days they were paying to house a number of detainees, but because of the way they're charged nowadays, that is not a possibility. I agree with you that there should be some commitment from the city because we are serving a purpose. I think that's one of the conversations that needs to be continued, but the city is facing a shortfall in their revenue as well with their sales tax. So it's going to be a difficult conversation to have at this time, but I think it is one that needs to be pursued. And as far as the design, I think there was some space in the design, the new design of the new facility for the ministry services. So we may need to share some of that information with you.
That's correct. There's some, I'll call them general spaces where you can have any kind of a training class or any kind of a church service or a ministry. We've got a couple of spaces in the new facility, and they're still in the design that can be utilized in that way.
Thank you.
So Deacon Forsyth, after the meeting, I bet Stacy can give you a little more detail to your question to what he just answered, please. Do we want to add anything to the end of that motion about kind of some emotion here about our neighbors, our humanity, or just leave it factual? I'm fine either way.
I think we leave it as is, keep
Okay.
it simple.
All right, we have a motion. Cassie, can you read it, please?
To recommend to the Board of County Commissioners to aggressively pursue all funding options to build the new jail as soon as possible as designed.
Okay. Is there any more discussion amongst our committee? Any public comment? If no, can we have a vote, please?
Cassie, I've messed up my screen here, but I vote aye.
I got you recorded.
Thank you. That was an excellent motion, friends. Okay. I think we've covered 2. We've covered 3. Item 4 would be a discussion and possible action to receive an update from the review committee regarding the RFP for public-private partnership.
Well, we've had a number of responses. I don't think that we've had a final meeting to make a selection. I'm sure those terms have changed since we've let the time lapse. But knowing that market, there's always going to be an interest to fund the facility. We just would need to follow up with the same parties, follow up on their interest, and ask them to make proposals again. Although with interest rates going up a little bit yesterday and our vote of no confidence for the U.S. economy, I doubt that those numbers are going to get any better.
Thank you, Javier. Questions, comments from our committee, from the public?
What was the time frame actually for the proposals that were submitted?
Most of them typically come with like a 30 or 60 days period of validity, and then they're no longer valid.
Okay, other comments from the committee or the public? If not, we'll move on to item 5 with discussion and possible action regarding an update from Flintco on the Behavioral Care Center. Please.
Josh Patterson of Flintco. Yes, we've started construction on the Behavioral Care Center, broke ground in January. Since that time, we've completed the demolition on site. We've got all of our site construction fencing up. Construction trailers are established and up and operational for us and the owner. Currently, we've been undercutting the building pad, reinstalling the new building pad, as well as doing site grading on the site. We've been coordinating with OG&E to establish permanent power to the site, and then we've bought out probably 98% of the project. We've got a couple scopes out for bid right now. So those trades they've started their submittal process, their coordination. We've finished our underground BIM coordination, and now we're moving up to above ceiling. We are so that's kind of what's been happening from a safety standpoint. We're 119 days without an incident on site. Obviously some of the site hazards there. We've got big heavy equipment on site moving around. We've got some existing utilities that we're making sure we stay out of. And then obviously we're starting to move into the summer season and hot weather issues. From a schedule standpoint, we are scheduled to start foundations here in the next 3 weeks, and then that'll move into underground mechanical, electrical, plumbing items, and looking for a structural top out in late October of this year, trying to be dried in Q1 of 26, permanent power there in April 26. Currently, the substantial completion date is September 30th. There's a little bit of time. Stacy had mentioned we ran into some soft soils that we're working through. There's been some delay associated with that. It's kind of concurrent delay with April's rain. Didn't feel like we got much done in April with the rain, so those kind of work concurrently there. So financially, we're still, our GMP is the 44.4 million. We do have the change order for the soil condition that'll increase that amount. We've billed to date $1.4 million against that 44.4 million. That'll continue. We'll have another billing here for April and May here pretty quickly. Quality control, we've got third-party testing on site, testing our building pad as it's been going in. We've started our pre-construction meetings towards our quality control as we move into the concrete phase of the project. We've got weekly site walks going on and documentation there. And then administrative status, so said we've bought out about probably over 95% of the building or of the project. Joanne, some of these stats here you'd asked for, but so locally we received, and this is just total of bids, about $75 million worth of bids from local contractors, about $9.7 million worth of smaller hub businesses, and then we've awarded contracts in the amount of 28.9 million, or about 81% of the project, to local contractors, and we've awarded 4.1 million to small and hub companies, which is about 11.43% of the contract values. So that's kind of where we're at today.
Thank you for that data, and that shows the economic impact that you are putting back into our communities, and I appreciate that, the data.
I had a question, and I think Stacy, you mentioned this earlier too. So it sounds like there was a change order for weather, and is that something that we are able to or anticipate? I guess I'm thinking more administratively. It sounds like it's warranted. I mean, April was kind of wild, but will we be looking at change orders that have been proposed and approved, that kind of thing, through the process? Sounds like that would increase the GMP.
Wait, I thought the change order was for the soils, not for the
Oh,
weather.
sorry.
For the soils.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, all the more reason why I think I'd like to see I'd like to actually see the change order itself and kind of how that relates. It sounds like the things are happening that are supposed to, but just process wise.
I think that's maybe up to you as a committee. If you're going to approve change orders before they happen, you're obviously going to have to meet weekly. We can't wait a month to get a change order approved. As those of you involved in construction understand that. If you are just fine seeing them after the fact and then maybe giving us feedback to whether, hey, I like that one, or what are you doing? I'm going to take that criticism.
I don't think I want to attend the owners' meetings, but what I would say is there might be some happy medium. I think I'm interested in just being aware of the things that are driving costs, both up and down, frankly, because I know how Flint cooperates. You guys will find opportunities for savings where you can too. So I think I would just want to know about those things as more. That's
our very first one, the one with the soils. And it's actually on the agenda for the commissioners tomorrow. So you found out about it first.
What's the value of that change order?
It's about $320,000.
I do wonder if there might be a COR process where that paperwork could live for a month and then those aggregate into CO or something like that would. I know many big change orders take a month to to work their way through the system from their initiation. So I don't know if we should add that requirement, but I do feel like timely reports on those when they emerge would give us a chance to see them before it got to the county commissioners. I don't know that we need to vote to approve them, but it feels like if we'd be quick about getting those before us, there would be plenty of time for that. You also mentioned that you're completing the buyout. Is there an opportunity for that buyout to result in some savings from the original GMP? Because that was established without all the bids, right? So if that's going well, maybe there's an offset there. How is that trending?
It's trending where we're going to hold to that 44.4 million. There's potential. We'll see how these bids came in. The first round of bids have basically kept us right at our 44.4 million. We haven't really seen any real buyout savings in the course of buying the job out.
Are you having to use any contractor contingency to deal with bids that maybe came in over what?
Yeah, we've had to use contractor contingency to maintain the 44.4 million.
How much did you have and how much did you use and how much remains? Do you know? Those are hard questions.
We had
But
about
big
3%, 3% contractor's contingency, and we've got remaining about $60,000 of that.
60? That's not enough, is it?
Very tight.
It's not enough. There's no way that's enough. How much contingency do we have, Stacy? I mean, that's a problem.
Yeah, I don't remember the owner's contingency amount, but the electrical and the mechanical hit them hard when they first opened those bids. Wasn't it beyond 3 million over the budget? So that took up all their contingency just to hold the GMP where it was.
So we had 3%, so 12 million in contingency, and we used.
You had there was a 3% contractor's contingency and a 5% bidding contingency is what went into the GMP.
44. That's 2 million. So
it's about $3 million.
3 million total
contingency, and yeah, between mechanical and electrical, that ate up the bulk of that.
Well, you will not get through this project with 6% or $60,000 in contingency. I would like to ask for a strategy from Blanco, the group, about how we keep this project in budget.
We're working on some VE ideas between the county and the HOK. See what we can see what ideas we can come up with to try to build back a contingency fund.
So it will require modifications to the design.
Yeah, and we're watching that real close. We will not build what was built 30 years ago, not on my watch. So the VE has to be truly an equivalent quality, and we're reviewing that as we speak. The owner's reps are heavily involved in that, as well as our designer and my office and the contractor. We're working well on that right now to see what contingency we can put back. But I don't know. I agree with you. It's not enough, but it seems like I've built a lot of projects in my career with no contingency. It's hard.
Well, but yeah, you can build them without more money, but they have to change. And that gets, what would your target be for savings that you could restore? I mean, at this stage, we ought to have a couple percent.
Yeah, I think 1.5% to 2% would be nice.
I look forward to hearing more about this.
The soils can change order. I may have missed it. Is it an environmental issue or just the actual soils aren't great?
It was just the actual soils, a lot more silt in it than we anticipated. It's a lot softer.
Have we hit a petroleum issue? Contamination issue?
Yeah, we're looking into that right now. We just discovered it and we're having it tested.
So that could be the rest of it, Steve. Other comments from our committee or the public about the behavioral care?
I guess we do, this project is fully funded, and assuming we don't have too many more cost surprises, and we're moving to completion of construction as designed with the caveats we've discussed, that's done and under control in that regard.
Yes.
Okay, any other comments, questions from us or the public? Thanks, Josh. Item number 6 is a discussion and possible action regarding the update for Blanco on the Oklahoma County Detention Center. Do we have any update on the detention facility in Flintco?
Like they've said,
And help us with your name, please.
yeah, this is Mike Atkinson with Flintco. The construction documents are almost 100% done. Of course, I don't know if they ever get completely done, but and so the budget is reflective of that. This is the same budget that was going to be turned in April 22nd. So there's been some other information come in, but this budget reflects that. This won't be the last budget we put together. We want to put together one more with some of the other changes and addendum we got just a couple of weeks ago. And on the mechanical electrical side, we already have allocated the funds to get an independent mechanical electrical consultant, national consultant, to look at this and give us a budget, because, like I say, the behavioral care center was the mechanical electrical was a problem, and we're wanting to get some outside help on what we maybe could do, what they see, and some other cost issues. So we're going to continue to do that. So the budget will continue to evolve. I don't know if these were ever given to the council in April. I'd like to give just a copy of this. It's just a lot of numbers. It's not very fancy, but because this may sit for a while, this will kind of give you where we're stopping as far as the numbers. But like I said, it's not going to be the last budget we put together, but this one here, I just want to kind of real quickly show the breakdown of it, and then y'all can certainly have it to look at to get any kind of detail. There is an executive summary here, and as soon as you get hold of it there, if we turn to the page right after the table of contents, I think it's the third page. We've got basically two basic budgets here. We have the budget for the 23-28 bed facility. That was the original design. That's the design that the architects have based their drawings on. $698 million is where is $698,769,860 is the budget there. We had these alternates that are basically deducts from that. So that second line, the current budget for an 1,800 bed, which I believe is what the commission had told us to do, is about 619. So that's kind of where we're sitting right now as far as what we know and what cost is. We've said this should be, we were trying to hold these costs, trying to anticipate till September of this year. So that's that. You were wanting to kind of know how long these things, probably September this year. After that, who knows? It's a lot of things could happen.
Can we get a copy of this electronically, Mike?
You can, yes. Yes.
Stacy, can you get us copies of that
I
electronically?
think I've sent you a copy of electronically, so okay, yeah.
Thank you.
It's this whole thing electronically. It's all in here. So this executive summary, the next page is just a comparison to previous estimates. And then the next is the summary of the base bid, and then a lot of backup data. And then the alternates are all separate. And that's what will take some time to look through it. But that summary page there is basically the baseline numbers that we're looking at. And certainly get into the details as you peruse through them. They're all broke down into alternates and
Mike, I have a question. How many of these numbers took into account the tariffs and all the other business with aluminum and steel? I know that probably had a major impact on behavioral care.
We still have about a 3% escalation identified as escalation. We still have about a 12 or 13% contingency in this total thing. Not that much. Let's see what it says here. 3, 8, and 3. Okay.
Yeah, 3%.
3, 8, 3. So contingency. So we're trying to still. That kind of carries us to September. I'm saying it carries us to September. After that, it's just it's growing. It's going to continue to grow, and at what rate? It just depends. The tariffs are all kind of. Everyone talks about them, but there's no. The last page I think I gave you here was kind of Flinko Alvarez's position on their understanding of the tariffs, but it changes daily, so it's not really something you can hang your hat on. And so anyway, this is basically a budget as we see it up until September. After that, we could continue to monitor it and try and use real-time issues as they come up, because that's about the only way we're going to do it.
Also, on the base count of 1,800 beds, how many of those are mental health beds?
Yeah, let's see. There was. I don't
know.
No,
if it's in here, I'll just look for it.
There's like I'm gonna be off of it. There's like 348 mental health in the full one, and they cut area Q in half. So that was like I don't
like
have that
60
numbers.
beds,
Yeah, so
roughly.
it's like 60. So it drops down. It's still over 300, I think.
Okay.
Mental health beds.
Thank you.
But that's
and if some of that information's in the report, I'll just read through it.
Yeah, and if not, I could certainly get another page to you that has that matrix breakdown of
That would be
beds.
great.
HOK's drawings also have that too. And
Yeah, if we could have that information electronically, that would be great.
I'll put that in.
I need some light reading for the Memorial Day weekend.
Any questions on this? Like I say, this is kind of we were kind of halted, but we're still going to be working on this to bring it to a final head of what we've seen, because the architects are still, I think, making completing the drawings, and he said another 30 days, perhaps that'll be 100% done.
So, Mike, what we heard about potential funding hopefully it'll work next year. We have a vote and we have funding. Let's say June of next year.
Actually, that would be later. The votes would be November. Look at mine.
Okay. Fourth quarter.
Yeah, it would be, if we were to have a vote, either one would be August and November.
So we would vote, hopefully, August, November of 2026. That's about the soonest we might have money approved. And then if it took us about a year to get organized, that'd be 2 years after your number goes bad in September. What is Flinko predicting for the inflation for the 2-year period when your number goes bad in September?
I want to see this crystal ball.
And say your name again for the record.
Josh told me to shut up.
All right. Anyway,
Yeah,
this number's good to September. 2 years later might be the fastest we would break ground, and it's a higher number.
Every 2 or 3 months, you as a group, you really have to kind of do a little study of,
Okay.
with us involved or whatever, and just keep that going up and down. 'Cause
All right.
It's gonna change.
Thanks, Mike. Other comments for Mike from our committee or the public? If not, we're done with 6. We'll move to item 7, discussion and possible action to receive an update regarding the RFP for behavioral care operator services and determine board involvement with recommendations. What Stacy's going to tell us is the county's realized it's time to start finding an operator of behavioral care facility.
That is correct. We were holding about $4.5 million back for FF&E for that facility. And we need an operator on board because we're building it as generically as we possibly can for whatever operator, but there are some very specific things that the specific operators needs to pick. And that's their nurse calls and their medical records and some of their medical equipment. And so we got to have somebody on board about January of 26 so they can work with Flintco in picking these items so they can get them installed to finish out the project. So we've got an RFP that's a draft version, kind of ready to go out. We're hoping maybe end of June, 1st of July, we might put this on the street. So we've got time to let people answer this, review their answers, have some interviews in the fall, and pick somebody to get on board with us. And you need to be aware of that document. You have the draft document, and I know you're not experts in mental health, but feel free to edit this document and get your edits back to us. We've got other people that are experts looking at it as well, so that when it does go out on the street, it'll make sense to those people that would answer the RFP. And then I didn't know if you guys, how much involvement you want in this process.
So I think I'm wanting to understand, at least from the standpoint of like your expectations, what kind of providers would you expect to respond to the RFP that you think's coming together? Is it, well,
it's a mental health professional provider that we're going to need to operate this facility. That's going to be their main focus. So if you look through this document a little bit, it lists on it's page 14, what the service provider is supposed to be doing and what treatments they need to be able to provide. It's kind of some bullet points, the 2 lists there, and those can be added to or taken away from when the experts really look at this close.
And many of those service providers went on the tours of the facilities. That we did one in Nashville and
Right.
whatever the other one was. Some of these people that are interested in
that's what it's getting.
went and visited the facility.
And that's where we kind of got the basis for this. The draft RFP is, we didn't reinvent the wheel. We used Nashville's as kind of a base document. They have a very successful program out there. They were well recognized around the country. So we used theirs and put a framework together, and then we're going to tweak it so ours will be better than theirs.
So Stacy, let me understand, the purpose of this body would be to administer the process, since we've done this a couple of times with other processes of procurement for the county. And you're going to help us with some mental health professionals that can help advise through the process.
Yeah, purchasing is doing that right now. So you'll have a well-written document.
Thank you.
And I think reading what we've been charged with to discuss today, do we want to be advised of it? Or do we want to enter into the process of selecting? If we go back to our mission that the Board of County Commissioners gave us a bit ago, the final step is construction. We are not in charge of operating a detention facility. We're not in charge of operating a behavioral care. So I think this is a courtesy call from Stacy asking, do we want to be informed or do we want to get involved in the process?
I think that's accurate, yeah.
Informed.
Or maybe individually as a subset more engaged than that, or if we all need to be in it, I have nothing to contribute there, but would happy to listen.
Do we want to be in the room during the selection process or stay informed? Is that fair, Stacy?
That's a fair statement.
Well, we didn't have the behavioral care center as part of our original purview, right? Yet we took it on. So I don't see why we would change that process now. And I'd like to be involved just to make sure I understand the objective and make sure we're consistent with the work that this body has already completed.
I think one reason for at least one member of this committee to be involved in that is, I mean, there's $2.8 million in FF&E. And I think that is clearly within our purview. So I think some representation from this
Sold, I think you're it.
body would be good.
Yeah, I had similar thoughts on the question. It was probably more that than wanting to dictate the process. I feel like it's worked fairly well for purchasing you guys to identify kind of the relevant parties and experts on some of these others. It feels like this body would maybe contribute to that.
All right, so what I'm hearing is a consensus. We'd like to appoint several of us to the review committee. Is that okay, Stacy?
Well, it's okay with me. The commissioners would be the final say. But
all right, do we have any volunteers, and how many would we propose for the committee?
I'll volunteer.
Javier, do we want 1, 2? Okay. I think we've heard a suggestion that we would recommend in a motion that Javier and Mike be appointed to the Behavioral Care Operations Review Committee for the RFP.
Yeah, and I'm happy to make a motion to suggest or recommend if that's helpful.
Please.
But I don't know if that. So yeah, I would
Make
move.
a motion.
I would move our recommendation to the BOCC be that 2 members of this body be added to the selection committee for this RFP.
Do you want to name the 2 or let them figure it out? I have 2 volunteers in Javier and Mike.
Right. Yeah, so let my motion reflect that Mike and Javier have volunteered, and we would like to have 2 of the members of the body.
Great. Cassie, you got it?
Would you like to restate that entire motion, please?
So I would move to recommend to the Board of County Commissioners that we have 2 members of this body participate in the selection for the behavioral care operator, and Mr. Mike Mize and Javier Naira have volunteered to do so.
Thank you, sir.
Is there a second? Have a second from Javier. Is there any discussion from our committee? Any comments from the public? If not, I think I've heard the motion. I'm familiar with it, unless we want it reread. If not, Cassie, let's see how it passes. The motion passes. Thank you, guys. Thanks for agreeing to continue to serve. You guys are awesome. That concludes item 7. I believe that takes us to the final thing, which is citizen participation. Cassie, is that my final item? Okay, is there any board comments, any citizen participation?
I have a quick comment. I'd like to maybe ask Stacy and Flintco in some combination to have a little more transparency on the behavioral health construction issues. Buyout did not go well. It took some random questions and some digging to get that out of you guys, and it's okay. Stuff happens, but I don't know, maybe a little box on the form that says, here's some stuff we're worried about and we're working. When you don't do that, it makes me wonder what we failed to ask and what we don't know, if you know what I mean. So just, we're all big boys. You guys know, we know stuff happens, but bring it, if you don't mind. Is that reasonable?
And I think a part of Stacy's challenge, I haven't had a meeting since January or so. And probably what I'm hearing here is maybe we should have had a meeting in March. And I think that would have helped us having a better feeling for what was going on. So I think Stacy and I will work together about even if it's very brief, to provide an opportunity for those updates, Stacy. And that's just something for me to work on with Stacy. But that's a good suggestion. Thank you. Other board comments?
Yeah, I would echo it. I was thinking about this a little differently, but I do think now that we're into building, I actually feel like this. I mean, it feels like we've done a lot of work to get to this place, but this is actually, I think, where our responsibility as a body is really going to sort of play into what's happening, because I think we are going to want to make sure that we're able to say that if there are the things that will happen during construction, then we're going to want to make sure that we can say, like, yeah, we acknowledge what's going on and we're sort of clear about it. So, yeah, I appreciate what you're saying, Steve, about the frequency of the meetings. I know that we had kind of light issues because we've kind of been waiting, but now we're actually building a pretty significant facility right now. So it feels like we want to make sure that we're in the throes of that.
Yeah, that's good advice, friends. Thank you. Other board comments? Public participation? If not, Cassie, help us adjourn, please.
I need a motion and a second to adjourn, please.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Thanks, everyone.
I'm sorry, I clicked that too soon. Let me go ahead and do roll call real quick, please. I apologize. Steve Mason?
Yes.
Mike Mize?
Yes.
Sandino Thompson? Steve Cooper?
Yes.
We are adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen.
Happy graduation.